Hey, let's see what time it is. Oh, hello. 6:24 at night. Hello. We're going to have a little after 5 o'clock, a little cocktail. Tonight we're having a dry Manhattan, drinking a dry Manhattan, sitting in Manhattan, having spoken to a friend of mine in Rye, New York, who has a dry sense of humor. So, this morning I was talking about Con Ed and the electricity and professionals who help everything run correctly. So I'm going to stay on point and try not to, wander off into the infinity of epilogues. In the loft that I was occupying, previous to the one I have now, I'm starting now in September the 18th year of my current loft. I've recently stopped calling it my new loft. The previous loft on Ludlow Street I had for almost 18 years. And as I explained, I end up being sort of the responsible tenant. A lot of my fellow artists often don't care about anything that doesn't pertain to them. I, on the other hand, was very concerned about the building in which my loft was located. So I kind of was always taking responsibility. One of the responsibilities in this loft was the boiler. The landlords, I don't think they'd stepped in the building in once in the 18 years I was there. But there was a boiler in the basement. And this boiler was probably from the 1920s. This thing was huge. It was a monster. And I figured out how to run the thing because nobody was taking care of it. So I figured, what the hell, I'll start taking care of the thing. And I studied up on boilers and I figured out how to use the timer panels. And during the winter, I could vary the timer sequences during the day and night so that the studio was comfortable. Of course, because of that effort, everybody else's studio was comfortable. Thank you very much. Anyway. So I got to set up a kind of relationship with this boiler where I swear I could feel how it was running. I could hear when the cycles went on. I could feel the heat. And sometimes I could tell the boiler wasn't happy. And I'd go down and sure enough, it wasn't happy and I would work it out. That's kind of weird, right? But whatever. So they had to change the master panel on the boiler. And a boiler mechanic came out and was changing the panel, and I went down to watch because the boiler was my baby. And he wasn't happy that I was there. And that happens often. I said to him, "You're not wiring that thing right." And he says, "What?" I said, "You're not wiring it right." He said, "Sir, this is my profession. I've been doing this for 20 years. Just get out of here and let me do my job." I said, "Okay." I left. The next day, I could tell there was something wrong with my boiler. My boiler. Can you imagine? I went down in the basement. The whole front burner entry to the boiler was on fire. The flames were like 3 feet in the air. I ran over and I shut down the power. I went into the boiler room with like smoke and madness and shut down the panel and then went in and manually pulled out the connections to the flame thing. Went over to the landlord, told him. The mechanic came out. They cleaned everything up. And he rewired the panel the way it was supposed to be wired. So there's an epilogue here, but I don't want to run too long. So why don't I just stop the thing right now? Just stop.